Hi guys. Coming to you this morning, give you a review on the Tymate tire pressure monitoring system. It is a four-tire system. It is wireless, and the model number is TM527, and it's a 12 volt. Plugs into your AC adapter in your vehicle. It comes with, as you can see, comes with a little display. It comes with four of your sensors, little caps for your sensors. It comes with some additional O-rings, your manuals. You got your wireless sensors, your user manual, and your quick install. Also comes with these nifty little um, tools, I guess you could say, that helps you remove the sensors, take them apart so you can change out the batteries in them. The batteries I find don't last a long time. So what I did was I went to Amazon and I picked up some of these. It takes the CR1632 batteries, and you can get these pretty cheap at Amazon. I think I bought like two packs of these for like $6. I found that they they lasted me, the ones that came with the tire pressure monitoring system, lasted me roughly about 2 months. Um, it I don't know if it was because the batteries maybe were already, kind of old. I don't know how old, the batteries have been, or how long they had been sitting in the box. But I just installed some fresh ones, so I guess I'll see how long they last. And I mean, if you get 2 months out of them, I mean, it's better than nothing. So just to talk a little bit more about it, we own a 40-foot fifth wheel. It's a Coachman Chaparral. It's a 360 IBL. And when we first bought it, we bought it secondhand, and it had the China Bomb tires on it. As everybody knows, China tires that come from the manufacturer are prone to failure. So as soon as I bought it, this was the very first upgrade I did to the unit. As I went out and bought this unit off Amazon, and it had some pretty good reviews. In fact, I'll leave the link to it below in the description. But I wanted to make sure that the tire pressures were going to maintain. I had basically tire safety. I didn't want to have any kind of blowouts going down the road. It's always important to make sure that your tires are aired up to the proper specifications according to the tire. If you look on there, it'll show you what the rating is, the maximum pressure cold, and the weight rating. This tire pressure monitoring system will detect your temperature ratings along with your pressure ratings. They'll detect from negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit all the way up to 176 degrees Fahrenheit. It'll give you a reading on tire pressures from 0 to 87 psi. It'll also give you temperature readings in Celsius and in bar for your pressures. You can set each tire to whatever high or low settings you want. So, say for instance, I want my tires to, and I have my tires, and I usually have them aired up to around 75 psi, and my tires will fluctuate anywhere depending on the temperatures, 5 to 10 psi. If it's cold out, they may only increase, 5 pounds of pressure. If it's 30 to 40 degrees, or just not max out, but to give you an alarm for. The range on the unit, I'm not quite sure how far it goes, but according to the manufacturer, it's 30 feet plus or minus. If it's 30 to 40 degrees out, I'll get, a 5 psi fluctuation. It may go up to 80 psi. And if it's warmer out, 70, 80 degrees, I may get up to a 9 to a 10 psi fluctuation. So, always remember that your tire ratings, on there is going to say, like on our tires, it says maximum cold psi is 80. But that's when you're cold. That's when you're just sitting there. You can inflate up to 80 pounds. And I want to say, I mean, I'm running this off the top of my head. I believe it's like 3,200 pounds, the weight rating at 80 psi. So when you're running down the road and say you max it out at 80, well, the pressure will go up, and depending on the how cold it is or how warm it is, you'll have that fluctuation in tire pressure. So sometimes it's not necessarily to be alarmed that you put 80, but then it goes up to 90. It doesn't mean that your tires are fixing to blow. It just that's your normal fluctuation in your tire pressure. So it helps. You can set your settings, and I usually set mine about 10 psi is where I set it. So if I'm at 75, I'll set it for 85 when the alarm hits. When I hit 85, I know, it'll start beeping a message at me saying, okay, you're at 85, tire pressure is going up, here's your warning. You can set it to whatever, but I feel safe. I usually hover around 8 to 10. Very rare occasions I've hit, 10 psi fluctuation. Same thing on the downside. You can set it to whatever you want going down. You start losing pressure, it'll definitely go off if you lose rapid pressure. Like if you have a blowout or something, it'll definitely go off quick. But if you say have a small leak and it starts going down, you're driving, say I do 5 psi, say I have the alarm to go off at 70. So when it hits the 70 mark, it'll do the same thing. It'll alert you that, hey, your tire pressure are 70. And I know I'd started at 75, so I know I got a leak somewhere. Same thing with your temperatures. You can see the temperatures when you start off, and then your temperatures as they rise. And I don't really pay too much to the temperatures as I do the tire pressure, because the tire pressure to me kind of indicates in correlation with the temperatures. The warmer your tire gets, the more pressure it builds. I, for one, am more of I look for tire pressure for a blowout or under pressure. You can also have a blowout or tire issues if you're under pressure also. Anyway, it's going back to the system. It'll detect both the pressures and the temperatures, and you can set the high and lows for each tire individually, not just the whole system. You can actually choose your right front, right rear, left rear, and choose each one on what pressures you want it to max out. We have a 40-foot fifth wheel, but I would say, the wheels are in the center and my truck. So I would say, I'm probably, where it's at in the truck, I'm about mounted on the windshield. I would say it's probably roughly around 30 foot. I have no issues with the signal at all. I will let you know this, though, that it will take anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes for it to initially give you a reading. When you first install it, it may not, when you start traveling down the road, it may not actually give you the accurate reading until about 5 minutes down the road. And it's the same way when you change the batteries. I just recently changed the batteries, and the reason the way you need to change the batteries is basically it just stops. It just stops transmitting. And I had three of them fail, basically all around the same time. I only had one that was still picking up signal. So I knew, okay, I need to change the batteries. The batteries have all died. When you change the batteries, it's going to do the same thing. It's going to take you 5 to 10 minutes for it to sync, fully sync and fully update itself. It's just the way the system is. The error rating is plus or minus 3 psi. So basically, the manufacturer's saying it could be 75 or it could be 78. It just depends on, I don't know, the conditions or the system. I don't know, but that's their range is 3 psi. I know that uh, the system is fairly easy to use. You can set the brightnesses. You can set the brightness of the system. You got the positive and negative, up and down. You can the middle is how you set it. You hold it for like 3 seconds, and it goes into the menu, and then from there you're able to adjust all your settings, and you just kind of go from one to one, from each tire, um, and just adjust it. It's fairly simple. I like the fact that they give you some extra things, like they give you these little caps that go on it for extra protection. They also give you some additional O-rings. There's O-rings already in it, but when you go to take it apart, you'll see that there's the battery. Oh, let me put it in the frame, sorry. All right, so when you go to take it apart, there is the battery right here. And then there's an O-ring on the very bottom. All right, that's in between this and this. Well, occasionally that O-ring may dry out, may start leaking, or maybe if you over tighten it, sometimes if you over tighten, you might, your O-ring might pop out. You ruin it, and you land up getting water in it, and you're going to ruin your sensor. So they give you additional O-rings, which is great. They also give you the option to do the suction mount, which I do. I just put it on my dashboard. I mean, on my windshield. They also give you a little stand if you just prefer to just stand it up. It hooks in there and it stands. Or you can 3M Velcro this thing to your dash, which is, another good, it just depends on how you want to mount it. They give you like a little wrench here. This wrench is basically for these nuts. So when you put these nuts on your valve stem, and I'll show you in a little bit, when you put it on your valve stem, this is going to screw down to your valve stem. All right. And these go on first. You put these on all the way on your valve stem. Screw this on. Once you screw this on and this is tight, you pull this nut back to the sensor and you tighten this down to this. Basically, it's kind of like a anti-theft is what they actually, I think, refer to as. Because when this is tightened to this on that valve stem, it's almost impossible to pull this off or untighten this with this nut locked down to it. So you have to loosen this nut and then you can be able to pull that off. I don't really do that because I don't know if too many people will go around stealing, tire pressure sensors. I mean, this is actually linked to this system, so um, I don't worry about this nut really. I mean, I'll put it on there and I'll screw it down to this, but I just snug it and that's it. Um, Other than that, uh, it's a great system. It's cheap too. I think I paid 69 on Amazon for it, and it's a great system. It does everything exactly what I need it to do. There's more expensive systems out there, and I think there may be some cheaper ones out there. I'm pretty frugal, so I like to look for things that are on the cheaper side but good. There are things that are actually cheaper out there, but might not perform as well. So I kind of take into the fact of the pricing and the reviews and the performance of the item and the quality of it. So I find that this is a pretty good system. I've seen somebody else on YouTube actually did a review on something that was pretty similar to this. And when I started doing research, I came across this one, and the reviews are really good. So I gave it a try and happy. Couldn't ask for more. All right, here's a shot of it installed on my dash. Well, on my windshield. They got the wires running down and tucking it back behind the dash. They run, you know, back and underneath the dash, and then come all the way over here. And I got my little cigarette plug right here. Plug it in when we're traveling. This other one over here is for the rear view camera system that I got installed on the back of the RV. So when we're traveling, I'm able to, see the cars behind me and also backing up. Um, so whenever I, you know, travel, I'll turn it on back down there, and I'm able to see safely what's behind me. That's always a plus. Not knowing what's back there, it's kind of frightening at times. But I'll give a separate view on that later. All right, guys. We're outside. All right. So basically, like I was saying earlier, you're gonna take your nut and thread your nut on. Give me a minute. Doing this one-handed. All right. Thread your nut on all the way. All right. Take your sensor. Put your sensor on. You'll hear the air escaping, and then it tightens up. And then you come back, screw the back nut down to the sensor. All right. And now it's on there. And then you can put the optional cap on. The cap goes on like that, and it's protected. And there you go, all done. Um, as you can see, I got the other one on there, all the cap, but that's it. Pretty simple, pretty easy. Um, Later, I'll give a review on my chaparral, the Coachman chaparral that we have. And I'll show you around. And it's a 2016. We've had it for. I actually bought it used. Bought it almost a year ago, and enjoy it very much. While I'm here, I'll go ahead and talk about. All right, so these are the tires that I bought. I actually the ones that came on it were the China bombs. Believe it or not, though, these are you can. They used to be made in America. They're Carlisles. All right, they are Carlisles. Give me a second. And they used to be made in America. Now they're being made in China, as everything else is. So I know the brand Carlisle was really good, so I decided to go ahead and give these a shot. I made a really good deal. I actually bought them off of Walmart. They're the 235/80 R16s. They are rated at. Let me see. Where's that? Well, it's kind of upside down, but they're load range E. All right, they're rated for 80 psi, and that is cold, and that is at 3,520 pounds at 80. That basically that's how much weight this tire is rated for at 80 psi. The less psi you have in your tire, the less the weight rating is. So you remember that if you're traveling and this camper that we have dry is dry is 11,000, and its gross weight rating is 14. Now that isn't exactly the weight that's on your tires at the time because you got a fifth wheel. Our fifth wheel, when it's loaded, puts about 2,500 pounds on my on the fifth wheel onto the truck. And I ran this through a cat scale, and cat scale rating with it loaded was right at 10,000 on the axles, on the trailer axles. So 10,000, divided by 4, is 2,500, pounds per tire. Which, if I'm at 75, that should be good. I'm not doing the math, but I'm pretty sure that I'm in the rating. Also, for safety reasons, I usually don't pull our fifth wheel more than 65 miles an hour, maybe 68. Um, the tires are rated for 75 miles per hour. So I usually, I could pull at 70, but for safety reasons and just to ensure that I don't have a blowout or any kind of issues, I run at 65. Um, Everybody's different, but I know some people are like, oh, I got these tires and, blah, 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 China bomb, and they blow. Well, what were you doing? How fast were you going on them? What were your tire pressures? You know, they, and a lot of people don't realize that. I've seen people going down the road and I'm doing 65 and they go, zooming by me, pulling an RV, and it's like you're asking for a blowout. Your tires usually aren't rated to go over a certain amount, especially when you're loaded on a certain speed. So always take that into effect. You have to have tire safety if you want to avoid having blowouts or damage to your RV or worse, a crash. Um, so it's all that's why I felt like I needed to do this review, get it out there to you guys, kind of stress the importance of tire safety and the pressures. Um, that way, it ensures everybody gets to where they're going and having a good time without having to pull over to the side of the road, crawl up under your RV, jack it up, change the tire, or worse, you can blow out your fenders on your RV. I've seen people, blowouts are so bad that it tears up their slide floors and everything else. That can be extremely costly. So, um, anyway, just wanted to give this review. Hope it comes in helpful to some people. And if you could, just please subscribe, like, and if you do subscribe, hit the little bell at the bottom. And I'll talk to you later. All right, thanks. Bye.